One of the functions of performing a business is marketing. Marketing is a group of interrelated activities. Marketing is a group of interrelated activities designed to identify consumer needs and develop, promote, price, and distribute goods and services to satisfy these needs at a profit. One of the critical elements of marketing is product strategy. How does a business develop its product strategy? And how does the product strategy change during the life of the product?
Hello, I'm Alex Burton, and this is the Business File. Product strategy is a critical element in the marketing mix. It sets the tone for the other elements of marketing strategy to be developed. To find out how this works, we'll be going to East Lansing, Michigan, and Boulder, Colorado, to meet with two highly regarded marketing professors. And then we are going to visit in Cincinnati, Ohio, with a successful marketing manager, and we'll examine the product strategy that has evolved for this product over its 25-year life. But now I'd like to introduce our first two guests. From East Lansing, Michigan, Professor of Marketing, Michigan State University, Professor Jerome McCarthy. Professor McCarthy, thank you for setting aside this time for us.
Well, thank you, and welcome, and nice to have you here.
Joining Dr. McCarthy and myself from his office in Boulder, Colorado, I'd like to welcome Professor William Stanton, who's Professor of Marketing at the University of Colorado. Professor Stanton, it's a pleasure to have you with us also.
Well, thanks a lot, Alex.
I'd like to direct my first question to you, Professor Stanton. What's the importance of the product in overall marketing strategy?
Well, maybe, let's put it this way. We have a saying in marketing that nothing happens until somebody sells something. Well, that isn't exactly correct, but you got to have something to sell. And the product's what you got to have to sell. You cannot successfully sell a bum product. You might sell one time, but you fool some of the people some of the time. You've got to have a good product because successful business depends upon repeat business, word of mouth advertising. The whole thing, you've got to have something good to sell.
Well, Dr. McCarthy up in Michigan, let me ask you a more basic question. What exactly is a product?
Well, really, we're talking about a bundle of needs-satisfying goods and or services. In the extreme, a product might not have any physical good in it at all. For example, a haircut. Or, in that case, they're taking something away from you. Or a doctor's services, where they just say something to you, but you don't have anything tangible. In most products, there is some combination of goods and services. Well, for example, in this telephone, there's something I can hold on to and make use of. But in addition to this, to really make this thing work, they have an 800 number that I can call if there's something that goes wrong with this. In addition, they have a service that is part of this product. If something goes wrong with it, I can put it in a box and then mail it away. And without that assurance that I will be able to continue to use this product, I wouldn't buy this. So the product is this whole bundle of needs-satisfying goods and services that assure me that I'll be able to make use of this phone, and that it will satisfy my needs for, in this case, mobility. Mobility and dependability. I want something that will continue to work and work and work.
That brings me to a question for you, Dr. Stanton. What types of products are there?
Well, in textbooks, we typically talk about consumer products and industrial products.
Well, let me pause right here for a second because we've prepared a piece about those two types of products. You've given us an introduction to it, so I'd like to show it now.
A product is more than meets the eye or the ear. It's the tangible things you can see, touch, and hear, and intangible features like the image it conveys and the service that stands behind it. All these things make a product what it is. There are two broad categories of products: consumer products meant for the personal use of the consumer, or industrial products, those aimed at business and industry. Under consumer products, there are three categories. Convenience goods, products easy to find and buy and usually inexpensive. Shopping goods, products that require more effort, probably some investigation and comparison of things like price and style. And specialty goods. Consumers are willing to spend more time and energy buying them. People will look for a specific brand or style and won't accept a substitute. There are categories of industrial goods too. Installations are the major assets of an organization. They include machinery and buildings. Accessories, on the other hand, are less expensive and generally have a shorter lifespan. Fabricated parts and materials are components that become part of the final product. Goods from nature like coal, iron ore, petroleum, and farm products are examples of raw materials. And those things, from pens to light bulbs, that are simply necessary to keep an organization going from day to day, are called industrial supplies.
So, as we all saw, products can be classified to fit into one of those different categories. Well, why, Dr. McCarthy? Why would a marketer need to classify products?
Okay. Mainly because marketing mixes that are required for these different goods classes are different. And the basic reason for this is that the customers that buy these two different kinds of goods classes think differently about them. The industrial goods customers tend to want to have people come to them. They are buyers, but they don't expect to reach out. Whereas final consumers are willing to shop. And we can develop marketing mixes which accept the idea, in fact, build on the idea that they are shopping, they are looking, they are willing to reach out. So very different marketing mixes are needed.
Another factor for a marketer to consider is that products pass through a life cycle. So let's take a moment now and look at what that is.
All products pass through a life cycle in 4 phases: introduction, growth, maturity, and decline. During introduction, few potential customers know about the product, so sales are usually low and the cost of promotion high. There are development costs to recover as well, meaning a length of time before profits appear. If the product is accepted by the consumer, it enters a growth stage. Promotion costs continue but level off, and profits move upward. By maturity, a successful product reaches its peak in sales and profits, but it will also attract competition. Prices may have to be cut. Even so, demand eventually decreases, sales and profits begin to decline. Unless the business monitors its market and improves the product to meet changing needs, it will enter a period of decline. Even if sales remain high, reduced prices and competition cut into profits. The message of the life cycle is clear. All products take this journey, and unless they are continually attended to, eventually disappear.
Now, Dr. McCarthy, why is it important for a marketing manager to understand and monitor a product's life cycle?
Marketing mixes really should be changed during the course of the product life cycle. In the very beginning, you have to inform people about this new idea that you have. And you may be able to charge a higher price. You may even have to charge a higher price because you've got more work to do as you introduce the product. As you get into the market growth stage, you have a very different job to do. Now maybe you have competitors, and you have to begin to think about persuading people that your marketing mix is better. So as the product life cycle goes on, we really have to change the marketing mixes.
Okay, you mentioned price, but are there other elements of the marketing mix you need to change?
Oh, yes. The whole 4 Ps may have to be changed. In the very beginning, maybe you offer one product version of your idea. As you go into the market growth stage, you may have learned more about the customers, and you may have to start improving on a little bit, partly because competitors may also have improved on it. Maybe you have different package sizes, different colors. At the same time, in the market growth stage, competition is getting tougher. You may have to increase the promotional effort. You'll have to send some sales people around to convince them that your product is better than somebody else's product, rather than just telling them, hey, we've got this product. You have to build channels of distribution. In the early stages, if you have a really good idea, it may be easy to get rid of some of your early versions of this product. But as you get a little farther along, it becomes necessary to pick the better distributors, to work with them, and maybe offer them better price deals. The competition gets much, much more aggressive as you move on. And if you don't do quite a good job in the market growth stage, you may have nothing but troubles from there on.
Dr. Stanton, I'd like to focus now on the development of the overall product strategy. What are some of the things that influence it?
Well, once you have the general idea of the kind of a product you're going to market, you have many strategy decisions. For example, your general product approach. Do you want to expand your line? We start out with just standard beer, we'll say. Well, now we add light beer, or we add low alcohol beer, or super premium beer. We worry about positioning our product. For a long time, one of the rental car companies didn't do well because they positioned themselves head to head with the number one. When Ava said, look, we're number two, we're going to try harder, that was a big success.
So that's a big reason they were successful. What other elements do you need to consider?
What branding strategy will you use? Are you going to put your name on it? You're a manufacturer. Or are you going to put the retailer's name, like Sears Roebuck or Penny's name on it? Are you going to brand everything the same? You got what we call a family brand, like all Campbell soups. Or are you going to have a different name for every product, like Procter & Gamble does?
Dr. McCarthy, I'd like to ask you the same question. What would you say is involved in product strategy?
Well, of course, we have to have a basic product, some kind of a need-satisfying package of goods and services, but we may also have to package it. We have to put it into a box or into a container of some kind. For final consumers, we may have to have little tiny packages. As you get over to the industrial goods side, maybe it comes in much bigger packages. And in fact, packaging may create an entirely different product. And in most product lines, they may have a small size, middle size, large size. For example, soaps, you'll find them in different sizes. Those are different products aimed at different needs.
In conclusion, and considering both your comments today, I think we can see why product strategy is thought of as the key element in the marketing mix. Thank you, Dr. Stanton in Boulder, Colorado, for being with us.
Alex, I should thank you. I've thoroughly enjoyed it.
And Dr. McCarthy in East Lansing, Michigan.
Thank you for coming.
Up to this point, we've seen the theory behind product strategy and what goes into it. Now we are going to Cincinnati, Ohio to see how it's done in business. We are at the headquarters of Procter & Gamble. And our guest is Jeff Jones, Associate Advertising Manager of P&G. Jeff, welcome.
Glad to be here, Alex.
Could you tell us where you are? What are those packages behind you there?
Alex, this is the company store in the general offices of Procter & Gamble. It is a large room that we've set up with store shelves to simulate what the grocery aisles in a grocery store looks like. The particular section that we're sitting in front of right now is the diaper section. In fact, you can see the Pampers brand right here in front of us on the shelves, which is the subject we're going to be talking about today.
Good. Let's begin by asking you to describe the product for us.
I guess in simple terms, Alex, you can look at Pampers as a disposable diaper, and that means it's a diaper which is put on the child to contain the baby waste, and it's disposable in the sense that it can be thrown away. From a marketing standpoint, we like to look at our products in a lot broader terms than that, because the product really has two parts, both the functional parts and the emotional parts of the benefits it delivers to the consumer. As I said before, the diaper really is a piece of clothing that's designed to contain. It fits around the baby. It has a plastic outer sheet and elastic legs that prevent the diaper from leaking. It has a soft inner lining that stays comfortable next to the baby's skin. Obviously, any kind of item or article of clothing that a baby stays in 24 hours a day, it's a great concern for the mother that it provides the best possible care that it can. And so the diaper really is, to some mothers, a reflection of what kind of care they're providing for their baby, making sure that the baby is comfortable, that it sleeps well without getting wet and irritated.
A few moments ago, we were talking with Dr. Jerome McCarthy at Michigan State, and he mentioned packaging as an element of the product. Do you agree?
Absolutely. In the broader product definition of what we're delivering, the packaging and how the consumer picks it up are really part of the broad definition of the product. As an example of how we've changed in that area over time, in fact, the initial Pampers package was sold in only a couple of sizes. This was a box of 12. Today, we sell Pampers in much larger sizes, boxes ranging from 72 count of diapers to 48 count of diapers. We've made changes in the product as well as the packaging to try to make the product satisfy consumers' needs better.
This may seem like a somewhat fundamental question at this point, Jeff, but Tell us, what's the specific target market for Pampers?
Well, our target market simply defined as households that have babies in diapers. And right now, about 12% of U.S. households have a baby that is old enough or at diapering age.
Jeff, our purpose for talking with you today is to look at product strategy and how it changes during a product's life cycle on the market. Now, from your perspective, what's the importance of monitoring the life cycle of a product in the marketplace?
Well, I go back to the fundamental principle in the marketing strategy, which is product strategy, making sure that we keep our eye focused on the consumer and what his or her needs are. And we spend a great deal of time in the marketing department as well as in the product development department making sure we understand, A, what the consumer needs are, because they do change over time, and B, whether our product meets those needs better than competition does, because again, competition changes over time. A product that may have been very relevant to consumers 10 years ago and to the competition on the market 10 years ago is probably not relevant today because people change, their wants and desires change, and the competition changes.
Can you provide us with an example?
On Pampers, there's a clear example. When we initially introduced the product, it was rather elementary looking compared to the product today. It didn't have tapes. It was rather thin compared to the products today and not nearly so absorbent. Over time, as competition was introduced, as we found that consumers wanted diapers that kept their babies drier, contained better, and were more convenient, we introduced changes to meet those needs. We put tapes on the diapers, we made them thicker, more absorbent, we put softer top sheets on to better meet consumer needs are. And the only way that you can find out how to improve your product is by staying in touch with the consumer over time on an ongoing basis.
Then how does this, in turn, affect the overall marketing strategy?
In addition to understanding consumer needs that help us define what the right product is, that has broad implications for the other parts of the marketing strategy beyond the product strategy. Example, in our advertising message, we found that consumer attitudes about parenting and about babies have changed over time. And we've tried to, in fact, reflect that in our advertising. Whereas 10 years ago, some of our commercials may have presented a stereotyped role of a mother at home in the caretaker role, we try to portray consumers in our advertising much more as a partnership between the mother and father who are enjoying the baby. That's one example. Another example is the trend simply towards working mothers in the marketplace, whereas 10 years ago, very few mothers worked, or a small percentage. Today, almost half of mothers of babies in diapers work, and that has an impact on how you reach them because those mothers that are working are not home in the day watching television and may have different viewing habits, different ways you have to reach them. Again, the only way you adjust your marketing strategy is by staying on top of what those kind of changes in the marketplace are.
Jeff, knowing this, let's look back a way and start with your initial product and marketing strategy to see how it's changed. What was your initial product strategy for Pampers?
As we developed the product initially, with cloth diapers being our key competition, cloth diapers were the only alternative on the market when we first introduced, we set the product strategy of having a product that better meets the baby's needs in terms of fit, comfort, dryness, better than cloth diapers. And our objective also was to develop a product that met the mother's needs or the father's needs better. And those are needs around convenience as well as the emotional benefits of good baby care.
Then what was Procter & Gamble's initial marketing strategy that was built around the product strategy?
The foundation for the marketing strategy has got to be the product strategy. And I'm starting out with the premise which we had a disposable diaper to first introduce Pampers, which was preferred by consumers over cloth diapers. Given that superior product, we really had three elements to our strategy. The first is we wanted to tell people about it via advertising. We know that if you've got a product which does better but nobody knows about it, that won't do you any good from a business standpoint. So initial element of the strategy, simply put, was broad awareness. We wanted consumers in households with babies in diapers to know about our product and that it was better than cloth. The second key element of the strategy was trial. One of the things we found out about diapers is that if you give a mother a box of diapers and let her try it and compare it against the system she's using, she can discern the differences pretty readily. And going into the introduction of Pampers, we wanted every mother and father in the marketplace to have a box of Pampers to try. Broad trial was the second element of the strategy. The third key element of the strategy on introduction, Alex, was distribution. Awareness and trial don't do you any good if you don't have the product on the shelves in the marketplace. And We had decided going in that our best strategy for letting the consumer buy the product was to get distribution in grocery stores.
What modifications did you make in product strategy as Pampers moved out of the introductory stage of the product life cycle?
Our initial product was better than cloth diapers in terms of providing baby care, keeping the baby dry, as well as convenience for the mother. We found out, however, through consumer research that our initial product wasn't perfect. There were still opportunities to improve it, and we pushed those. An example is adding tapes on the diaper. The initial Pampers still needed pins to put the diaper on the baby. We discovered through research that the tape on the diaper would make it more convenient, a safer product since there's less chance of the pin poking the baby, and we put that on. A new element that changed our thinking a little bit on the product strategy is the onset of competition. As I mentioned to you, our initial competition was purely cloth diapers. As we began to convert cloth diapers to disposables, some of our competitors saw that as a major opportunity. And frankly, that's healthy to everyone, because the entry of competition made sure that we were doing everything we could to improve our product over time and better meet consumer needs. So as some of our advantages over cloth disappeared through the entry of competition, they had the same disposability benefit and dryness benefit. That pushed us even harder to make more improvements. We made our diapers thicker, we made them softer, we made them more convenient to use. We put them in the larger boxes to make them more convenient to shop.
All right then, how did this affect your overall marketing strategy?
Well, I mentioned earlier, Alex, that we really had three elements of our strategy we focused on in the introductory stage. That was broad awareness, trial, and distribution of the product. The advertising element of the marketing strategy has not changed a great deal over time. We still believe it's critical to make sure that consumers are aware of the advantages that our product offers over the alternatives. What has changed is some of the points that I mentioned earlier, that we've tried to update our advertising to make it more relevant in today's market, make it reflect a more contemporary family with the father and the mother having joy in the care for their baby, reflect the fact that we're not just comparing ourselves against cloth diapers anymore, but also other disposable competition. From a sales promotion standpoint, I mentioned our initial strategy was broad trial. We were aiming to get trial of all mothers in the marketplace. As we got beyond the introductory phase and had mothers who were using Pampers on a regular basis, the main focus of our trial generating efforts was in the hospital level. And in fact, we developed a special professional services effort that would ensure that mothers who have their baby in a hospital and go home have a box of Pampers to take home with them to try the product. So our trial was focused through our professional efforts in the hospital. We also, on an ongoing basis, when mothers were using Pampers, began to deliver some sales promotion incentives, some coupons, some offers where the consumer could send in box tops and get back, for example, a small doll for their child. Those are the kinds of incentives to encourage consumers to become regular users of Pampers. Our initial marketing strategy in the personal selling area was distribution. Once we'd achieved that in the introductory phase and had our product on the store shelves, our focus was working with the grocery trade in partnership to advertise and display our products to make sure that consumers were encouraged to try them and use them on an ongoing basis. And by that I mean the kind of trade advertising that's done in your local newspaper on a weekly basis, and also working with the trade to set up displays at the end of the aisle that will encourage consumers to buy our product on an impulse basis.
Jeff, our focus today, our reason for talking with you, is to see how product strategy changes over time. Now, as you know, our cameras were there at Procter & Gamble earlier, and we put together a piece to illustrate some of the things that we've been talking about. The piece opens with a look at one of your early commercials.
All over America, babies are staging a great sit-in. Babies who have never sat in before. And what are those babies sitting in? Pampers. Because when babies sit in Pampers, they sit in dryness. Pampers keeps them drier than cloth diapers.
Pampers was a new type of product when it was introduced into the marketplace more than 25 years ago. Then the only competition was from cloth diapers. So the idea was to make the consumer aware of what Pampers had to offer over them.
Outside, Pampers are waterproof to keep you drier. The great sit-in goes on. Because when babies sit in Pampers, they sit in dryness. Babies of America, be seated.
It didn't take long for Pampers to become a success in terms of sales and profits. People began to buy them in greater and greater quantities, so Procter & Gamble responded with new, larger packaging. At the same time, competition began to develop from other brands of disposable diapers that were introduced. To stay ahead, P&G continually monitored the marketplace, found what consumers wanted, and looked for ways to improve their product. As Pampers was improved time and again over the years, it's been given new life with its evolving life cycle. And along with product strategy, the overall marketing strategy has changed to meet the needs of a changing market.
Jeff, there is time for one last question. Would you tell me what role does product development play in your overall marketing strategy?
Sure, Alex. Product development in Pampers, as in any product at Procter & Gamble, really has to be the foundation of the marketing strategy, because we believe that you have to deliver a product to the consumer that satisfies her needs or his needs as a father better than any product alternative available on the market.
Thank you for the cooperation of everyone at Procter & Gamble, and thank you for being with us.
Thank you, Alex. Pampers is one of my favorite subjects to talk about, and I enjoyed it.
I'm Alex Burton, and this has been The Business File.
The preceding program is part of a college credit course.